Everybody, my name is Natalie Yeadon. I'm the CEO and co-founder with Impetus Digital. At Impetus Digital, we have built some of the best-in-class asynchronous and synchronous virtual collaboration and communication tools. We have worked with life science companies from across the globe over the past 13 years to help them with everything from digital advisory boards, virtual medical education, online investigator meetings, and all kinds of other innovative collaborative virtual events and programs. And since the launch of our award-winning Insight Events platform, we've been helping pharma companies with doing everything from MSL and large Salesforce training, corporate events, innovation hackathons, and all kinds of really innovative programs. But more importantly, at Impetus, we really believe that everything starts with a conversation. And from these big, hairy, audacious conversations, we can all work together with some of the thought leaders, the digital provocateurs, the healthcare thought leaders, to collectively and positively disrupt healthcare. I'm really thrilled to having one of these entrepreneurs or these thought leaders starting in the digital medical space. This is Dr. Javier Mendoza. He's actually a gastroenterologist with over 19 years of international experience from Spain. So from Spain and also Portugal, as well as the Netherlands. Javier has a global understanding of medicine and technology and has a very clear vision of what the future looks like for healthcare. So we're going to dig into that a little bit today. Javier has a master's degree in e-health from La Salle, Barcelona, and he's also shifting his professional focus to a combination of not only gastroenterology, but also e-health. And also, which is really exciting to talk about how he is progressing in his career, and probably a little bit of a motivation for the rest of us sort of sitting on the sidelines and thinking about what does this look like in the future. Recently, he has focused on digital health, artificial intelligence, innovation, as well as the provocative topic of ethics in biopharma, in addition to practicing medicine. So welcome, Dr. Mendoza. So happy to have you on the show.
Thank you, Natalie. Very happy to be here with you talking about my passion and my work, healthcare and digital health.
So you started off as a gastroenterologist. I mean, obviously a great career, people go into medicine all the time. You're in a specialty, you've already done a lot of work and have all this background. And a lot of people are very happy just to retire and stay in that. What made you decide that you were interested in taking your medical career and augmenting it with knowledge and interest in e-health?
I think the key word is health. Sometimes I think why I started a school of medicine, and it was trying to help my patients. And there's that moment when I was in the Netherlands. You say, well, Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands. It was 2017, and I said, with digital health, you can help more patients in less time. So let's jump here. And many people ask me, but exactly what does digital health? And I think I always say, help healthcare professional, help patients, and help healthcare system that they need this help with technology to have better results.
So it's interesting that you had that, I guess, revelation, if you will, Javier, in 2017. This is prior to COVID. What were some of the signals that you felt in your practice and in the institutions that you were working with to say, hey, wait a second, things need to change?
Yeah, I have a relationship link with United States because my wife is from California. And many people ask me, when start these? And I was in California and I went to a conference of Singularity University. And it was the first time that I listened about artificial intelligence and big data and predictive models. I said, oh my God, this is going to change healthcare. I want to be part of this. So after that, it was in my mind, but I always say, okay, I want to jump to digital health, but I have to study. So I did my master in e-health and say, okay, this is not the future, it's now, and I want to change my career and work in digital health.
So we're going to just take a moment and think about I guess the usual, the quintessential or the avatar of a physician. Many of them were their first foray, if you will, into digital was the electronic health record. And we realize as well, using the US as a model, about what a debacle and how difficult that was getting that underway. Tell us a little bit from a physician's perspective, why digital feels so painful.
Yeah, I think electronic health record is a good example of how we can jump to get digital health, but to try to be organized. So in one hand, I think it's harder for the medical doctor and healthcare professional fight with electronic health records. But the last 1 year and a half, I have been working in the natural language processing. And we must say that from this data, we can have information. And with this information, knowledgement. So natural language processing joined to electronic health records can give us very good results. And at least all this time that the medical doctor has been writing, the patient has abdominal pain. Now in the future, we can have information about that and make a better healthcare with better results.
Enter COVID-19, and it changed the world as we know it, absolutely pivoted what has been going in healthcare. So from a time of potential interest and maybe some big data, came to a place where it was put on its head and physicians had to quickly adopt. Many of them had to have their hands forced into teletherapy and other things. Tell us about what that transition has been like with colleagues of yourself. And now that we're emerging outside of COVID, is this migration to telehealth going to stick?
I think it's going to go on. That we cannot forget two things. One is if you were not prepared before COVID to adopt all these digital health and telemedicine, I think it's wrong. If the virus change your way of do things, it is an error. So all these business and company that before that were thinking in digital health and telemedicine, I think they are well prepared. And I don't know if after we talk about that, but one thing that I always say is telemedicine, we don't see, we don't touch, we don't have this relationship, healthcare professional and patients. So empathy is more important than ever. So we have to be close to our patients, and we have to have good quality in telemedicine, as the same we have in the consultation every day.
So important, and so many great nuggets there. So we're now in this world where a lot of care and diagnosis is happening online. We're really used to having a patient show up in your office. You end up, having them send them over to the lab to get their blood results, or you have, them put on a halter to check their heart. That's not happening anymore. We are now actually sending things to patients, or they're using their own devices to be able to check these vitals. What has the adoption been like for physicians to start thinking about this data coming in from new channels, and how are they accepting and incorporating this in their day-to-day workflow?
I think it's amazing. The patients are open to that. Mayo Clinic a few weeks ago presented an article talking about how patients were worried about security and about how medical doctor is going to use that information. But we have to jump to technology. But I'm always talk about Eric Topol, he's cardiologist from San Diego, that for me is the master of the digital health. And with digital health is to be closer to the patients, not farther. So technology is going to help to be closer. For example, in a GI area, we will have some techniques to follow up a big group of patients like IBD, Crohn, ulcerative colitis, that can do tests at home to see if they have activity in their disease. So it's very important technology, but I always say that forward and backward. So technology, yes, but humanism also. Be close to our patient, listen to our patient, and keep this link with them.
It's oftentimes a bit of a struggle for the best of us to get into tech and to feel somewhat savvy with it. Many people have just gotten over email or learning how to check out websites or doing various other things, let alone doing diagnosis and reading data. What would you say to the average physician or institution that's thinking about incorporating this and trying to reduce the confusion? And secondly, the perceived work and aggravation of changing their automaticity and the way they do their regular workflow and how their regular workday becomes very automatic. What are some of the steps that you would suggest somebody follows to start thinking differently in a digital way?
I think here we have two words, trust and explain. So we have to trust, and the medical doctor have to trust that all technology can help them, but we have to explain. So it's the same. I'm not an expert in artificial intelligence, but I have worked and studied. So we have to say artificial intelligence is not a black box. So you have an income, algorithms make their job, and we have outcome. So it's more important than ever the explain artificial intelligence, the explain digital health, and say, you can trust this because this is going to help. So many times I think that how can we explain a medical doctor that is in maybe in a village inside a no big city around, but they can have connection with a specialist. And there's an interesting concept that now we are talking about the liquid hospital. So hospital open, they can talk with the specialist like me and say, hey, I have this problem. And with technology, with maybe 2-3 minutes of consultation by telemedicine, we can help them to have a good care to the patient.
So you really bring up a very good point, which is sort of the democratization, if you will, of excellent healthcare. Before, that was minimized by geographical barriers and segments and issues. You had to be at specific hospitals to get access to certain physicians. What is that going to look like in the future? Does this actually minimize the generalist physician? And does this maximize and make and popularize just a few very elite physicians globally? What are we going to see a big disparity between the famous key opinion leaders and a minimization of just the regular physician because of digital?
I try to be optimist, and this summer when I was in the United States, I called this famous Rafael Grossman, that was the first surgery that tried the Google glasses, and he was so open to talk. So I think between us, healthcare professional, also with nurses and another professional talking, we all want the same, to try to help our patients. So I think many people are open to do collaboration and be helpful and try to move on. Again, we have to explain and we have to organize, but I think that the future is open and no more elite. Yes, try to help our patient.
And working together. Now, the electronic health record suddenly becomes the template or the portal or the baseline at which everything integrates. And so there comes down to a question about interoperability and the ability to connect with a myriad of devices and tools and diagnostic pieces and bits and pieces so that the data can come into one repository. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts around interoperability and what is this going to look like in the future around multiple potential data sets and databases?
I think it is vital if we want to move on. When you study digital health and you see that the number of complications and medical errors that we have every year, it is amazing. So you put on antibiotics, but you didn't check or you don't have the electronic health records, and that patient is allergic and have a severe complication. So we have to be in interoperability, and it has to be connected to move on. And with that, we will have big data. And with big data analysis, we can have many things. Inside that, we have genomics, we have image, medical image, that it's one part of the GI, as you know, with colonoscopy and all these tools approved for the FDA. And the other thing that I think is going to change many paradigms in healthcare is microbiome. Microbiome, it can be very nice information in electronic health records. And what we need right now is real world evidence to have new concepts and have better diagnosis and treatment.
So as we talk about the focus on patients being the center of this new technological opportunity where everything is going to be helping, the empathy of the actual people they're working with, the technology to be able to diagnose and to be predictive, so we can get more from a sickness care system to a wellness care system. What do you sort of see all of these bits and pieces contributing to new drug discovery, specifically the idea around clinical trials? And where does the patients fit in, and what does this new environment of digital going to do in terms of augmenting drug discovery?
Yeah, now it's in the mouth of everyone, how quick we get these vaccines for the COVID. I think artificial intelligence and machine learning is very important to have a safer and faster drug development. So it's important because we have all this information, and I'm quite sure that soon we will have in silico trials, or at least one part of the drug discovery will be in silico trials. So we can avoid some part of the years and years of numbers, big numbers of patients in clinical trials, and we can do this part faster. So I think it's very important.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's really interesting as we look at all of the various parts and pieces to this. I've read a lot of Eric Topol's books, who was a very early interventionist on all things AI and what it's going to mean for healthcare. And certainly a lot of pieces around ophthalmologists and, you know, doing any kind of diagnosis in terms of the, you know, X-rays and those sorts of things. One immediately wonders about the replacements of those kinds of physicians by AI. You know, a lot of the data has already been showing through Google and various other tech companies that it can be just as accurate. What do you say to physicians in those kinds of areas in terms of being concerned about their jobs?
I think right now it's more clear than ever that that physician we will going to work. We work also with medical image, the GI with gastroscopy and colonoscopy. So in that book, again, Eric Topol, Big Medicine, he explained how radiology, maybe 35 or 40% of the CT or X-ray that we say every day are normal. So artificial intelligence is going to help to focus in the pathology, and maybe they will have more time, but more time that they can use to go and talk with the patients, not be in a dark room, only see image of CT or MRI, or go and talk with another specialist. So I think we will have a better job, and more focus in patients and focus in personalized medicine. It's a game changer, and I think maybe the problem will be the doctor that in a few years don't use artificial intelligence. That can be in the second part.
We're in a very interesting place in the world as it's almost like several false starts as we try to get and ignite the engine again after the COVID-19 pandemic. I think a lot of people are just sputtering and trying to move forward in healthcare and in the economy, et cetera. Now, one of the questions comes down to a lot of questions around burnout. We hear a lot about physician burnout, nurse burnout, more than ever because of the over amplification of needs at the ICUs, et cetera. Do we see digital potentially modifying the roles of nurses, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, to kind of almost raise their scope of work, if you will, not to compete with physicians, but to augment the effort so that you have more people in the ballpark playing the game, helping patients, doing the more empathy type of work? Do you see digital assisting in providing that collaboration and communication between all of the various specialties?
Here, there are two things. One that is terrible, burnout and suicide in healthcare professional. The other day I was reading, and it was name and pictures after emergency room in your states. Some medical doctor that commits suicide. That I think it's terrible. We have to change. I say we don't have future in digital health if we don't take care of our healthcare professional. In the other hand, I believe in team. So nurse and another healthcare professional, we are all together. So digital health, I think it can help, and we can be joined and have a better outcomes. And mental health, and inside mental health is burnout and suicide. I think will be the last part of this pandemic, because we had a lot of stress with all our patients, and people dying, or people be at the hospital with a lot of problems. So we have to change that.
We're moving into a place of, you were saying, trust, and that word comes up a lot these days when there's a lot going on. And there's two sides to AI and all of the technology, because it's increased transparency and it's also increased clarity on some of the not so great things that are happening in the world. So in comes blockchain and this opportunity for ownership and trust. Decentralized autonomous organizations and smart contracts, et cetera. Where do you think this plays in the medical space moving forward in the future with data?
I think it's important, and blockchain is very close to interoperability. So we need blockchains to have more safe in our data. Talking a little about ethics, I'm reading now a book, Privacy is Power by Carissa Belliff. And I think it's amazing because, okay, we have the responsibility, and I'm do collaboration in a non-profit association in ethics and artificial intelligence. And some of healthcare professionals have to be there. If big tech are gonna jump to healthcare, we have to show them that ethics is not trending topics. It's vital in healthcare. We have Hippocrates talks, and there is a movement also talking to all these technology, data science, engineers, informatics have to be a technocratic oaks, because their work it's going to change protocol, it's going to change treatment to a patient. So we have to be aware of all these changes.
Absolutely. It's ethics and AI is going to be a topic for many, many years to come. I'm sure a lot of things we'll have to sort out over the years. And the other big question comes down to is now as we start to democratize knowledge, it becomes accessible to all, knowledge becomes free. And in some ways, the typical influencer, thought leader, key investigator, now everybody can get included. Now there's a diversity that we've never seen. Representatives and physicians in the underprivileged, the underserviced areas. What does medical education going to look like in the future as we look at this gigantic global opportunity of people who are trying to learn and trying to cater and help patients across the globe?
I think you have a good point in this. I think medical education and healthcare education has to change. We cannot do education as 40, 50 years ago. So we have to have two parts. That is technology. We have to say to the new and the future medical doctors, explain what is artificial intelligence, what can data analytics do for them. And in the other hand, talk about empathy, relationship with the patients. Okay, personal story. When I was a junior GI, one day a nurse said, that patient of that room said that you're a very good doctor. I was very happy and say, I did an amazing diagnosis, or the treatment was effective, and say, no. She said that you sit down and talk to her. And I was surprised, say, that's it. But that was important because at that moment, I'm not in a rush to run to another patient. My time, I was focusing in her. So technology for sure, but we have to teach, listen our patients.
Yeah, so it's I'm also curious, a lot of people who listen and watch our show are from the pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical industries have traditionally been the partners with institutions, physicians, et cetera. What advice would you give to the pharmaceutical companies who are looking to work with physicians and healthcare providers, et cetera, in institutions to augment the care that are being given to patients, improving the diagnosis of people who don't have a diagnosis? I'm thinking specifically rare diseases. What sorts of things would you advise pharma to do to increase their impact on what is happening in the digital space and in healthcare today?
I think that they have a nice movement that is beyond the pill. Maybe it's a little old, but a few years ago they start, so they cannot be only in the pill, beyond the pill. But I don't know, my advice, and maybe it's a little naive, but I would say that, and maybe it's the difficult, that's why big tech are not very successful still in healthcare. Healthcare is not only a business. Healthcare is trying to help people, and as you said, maybe rare disease, the pills for the treatment for rare disease are not a big business, but we have to try. We have to try to take care of these patients, and they have done amazing things in my field with hepatitis C. The treatment is amazing. Now in some weeks you stop the disease, so they're doing well. But I would say beyond the pill, and please, healthcare is not only business.
And it brings up a point about other people that are now getting into the space are the big tech companies. We're talking about Apple, the Apple smartwatch, and we're seeing all kinds of bells and whistles and measuring sleep. I have an Oura ring. There's 24-hour glucose monitoring. And, and then we're also talking about Alexa and being able to remind people to take their birth control pills is the latest I've read here. There's Google. We're talking about changing the point of care. So moving away from the idea of the beds in the institution to the bed in the home, and kind of changing the way we're thinking about that point of care being at home, or even potentially in your smart car, where there's all kinds of technologies. Tell us about how that care environment is changing or will change in the future.
It's changing right now, and but I'm a little tired of the concepts in the digital health. Always we are not in healthcare, we are in a sick care. Let's talk about the 4 or 5 P healthcare: preventive, predictive, proactive. So I think we need new concepts, and we have to work with the big technology company. I think they have to hire or to collaborate more with medical doctor and have this point of view. I believe in multidisciplinary team. So the other day I was LinkedIn, I wrote a post and say, okay, no more P healthcare. Let's talk about E: ethics, efficient, equity. So let's try to build more concepts in digital health and try to get better results.
Absolutely. Fascinating stuff. You could probably go on for days and days about the transition that healthcare physicians are going to be taking as we start to digitize and careen through this digital revolution. So it's going to be very exciting in the months and years ahead. So why don't we talk, just to close up here, what is your personal hopes and plans, Dr. Mendoza, as you're moving from your sole gastroenterology practice into something that's more AI focused? What are you hoping to achieve, and what's that next piece of your plans?
My plans are jump full time to digital health will be my dream. And if I can join with a GI that I have been working for 20 years, it will be amazing. As I said, I believe in multidisciplinary team. Many times I talk with recruitment or talent hunter, say, you see the role that are open? Many times I said, what am I? Medical officer, innovation, ethics. I think we have to be more open, and it's not a role question. It's what this person can do for me or for the company, or for have new results in digital health. I think we are changing, and with COVID more faster, and yeah, the future is great and brilliant.
That is exciting stuff. So that is a great way to wind this up, Dr. Mendoza. For anybody who's listening or watching the show and interested in connecting with Dr. Mendoza, either for advice, consultation, you're interested in having him join your board if you're a startup in a device company, or in the GI space, or you're just interested in talking about it in general, we will be leaving his contact details in the show notes below. So please be on the lookout for that. If you were enjoying the show, we encourage you to also check out impetusdigital.com. This is the kind of conversations that we have asynchronously and synchronously in our virtual collaboration platform. We do this with physicians, payers, allied healthcare providers, patients, payers, etc. And we actually have little assignments and touch points throughout the year so that you can move agendas, change regulations, think about new legislation, and agendas for your strategies and tactics. And we can help you with that, bundled with our white glove service, so that you can get really innovative work done. So we also encourage you to please like and subscribe to our channel, and we'd really appreciate if you could leave some feedback on iTunes. Thank you all for your time today. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Dr. Mendoza, for an excellent conversation.